Hey, this is the handicapped hero, Gregory Iron, and you're listening to the podcast where everybody knows your name. I'm not a good singer, but I tried. Wrestling Cheers.
Taking your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. You want to go where you can see that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially on the set of PowerBomb. Yes, this is a bonus episode of Wrestling Cheers, and we're brought to you by the Trending Topics Network, NEO Sports Insiders, and MidwestTerritory.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast that is about the Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we even have interviews along the way. This is a special bonus episode highlighting the premiere of PowerBomb, and we are also interviewing, once again, Gregory Iron on the podcast. So, like I said, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Please get a hold of us on all your social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. And we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Like I said, we are talking about PowerBomb. This week's bonus episode is brought to you by the world premiere of Sickening Pictures' upcoming release, PowerBomb. PowerBomb is the story of an independent wrestler on the verge of breaking into the big time, but he's contemplating leaving it all behind to spend more time with his family. When our wrestler's biggest fan hears the news, he decides to take matters into his own hands to ensure that his champion gets to the top by any means necessary. This film stars Lucha Underground's Matt Cross, Wes Allen, Roni Jonah, and Women of Honor's Britt Baker. PowerBomb is directed by Zach Shildwachter and B.J. Colangelo. PowerBomb premieres 7 p.m. this Thursday, December 6th at Capitol Theater in Cleveland, Ohio. For ticket information, please visit www.clevelandcinemas.com. So it's a really, really big deal that people come out and check this movie out. Unfortunately, I won't get to be there, and it's something that it gets kind of, I think it gets kind of mentioned in the interview with Gregory Iron, but I really want to go, but it's hard for me to make it work with my work schedule. But PowerBomb is a movie that has a little bit of even importance to my heart, because there's a scene in the movie that I was an extra for, and even though I can't be there, I really hope a lot of you can. And when this gets some sort of release, if you're like myself and you can't be there, I hope you're also like me, you're the first in line to purchase a copy, because I know as soon as they announce something, I'm going to pre-order or I'm going to do something, and whatever it is. I actually wanted to give money to this, but by the time I got around to getting up the funds, they had already raised all the money that they needed. And BJ and Zach and Wes, I love this whole crew of people, and some of my favorite wrestlers are in the movie. Dick Justice, Gregory Iron, Matt Cross, and it's really cool to see this whole thing happen. And I don't want to take too much more of your time. Reading a little bit off from the event page that I didn't technically already read of everybody that's in this, or what's going to happen. Like, if you come to this premiere, each ticket will automatically enter you into a raffle for just a massive raffle basket featuring items from the Savage Stats, Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling, and much, much more. There's also going to be a Q&A with the cast and crew, which will be available right after the conclusion of the screening. PowerBomb does run at 80 minutes. It has not yet been rated, though, but is a movie that is recommended for audiences 13 years or older for language, implied drug use, and violence. So this is going to be a fun event, and I'm really honored to kind of be a part of promoting it. If you get a chance to, check out Zach's podcast that he is a part of, and it's a show that you hear me mention every so once in a while on the show, and that is none other than Center Stage, SENTER Stage, and that is with Ben and Zach. So they're doing a special that released the same time as this, or roughly the same time. So, please help support them, this movie, and how you're even supporting us. So, without any further ado, let's get into the interview with Gregory Iron.
You wake up every morning, get yourself out of bed, and look in the mirror, and realize that you don't recognize the person looking back at you. You don't feel as whole as you should. You feel about half empty. You get in your car and go about your daily activities, and you think about all the opportunities that you missed. Opportunities you didn't take. Doors you left closed instead of open. You think about all the things that you could have done and the things that you chose to do instead. Well, that's where I come in. My name is Dr. Daniel C. Rockingham, and I am not only a motivational speaker, but I am a personal development coach, and my 3-principle system has changed the lives of countless people all over the world. I invite all of you to stay with me today and listen as I help you change your lives and give all of you a new beginning.
And we're back here on the podcast, a very special bonus episode, and not even just that. I probably already mentioned it, but I'll do the intro and everything later. But this is the first time that I have done a repeat interview. And I mean, there's people who have come on and off the show, but they're normally just regular panelists and everything. This is the first interview, one-on-one, face-to-face, live repeat interview. And of course, I had to do it with the very first person I did one with, Gregory Iron. How's it going, Greg?
I'm back. I'm good, man. It's great to see you. Always good to see you and hear from you.
It's quite a lot's happened since we first sat down. Oddly enough, we're still in Turner's Hall.
What was the date on that last podcast?
June or July of 2017.
Wow. Yeah, a lot has happened. Gone through a lot of changes since then.
Yeah. But still in Turner's Hall. I think that's the funny thing.
Yeah. Some things never change, right?
We're in the basement now, though.
We are in the basement recording. It's actually, I was just showing you the ring that I trained in with Johnny Gargano. It's still in the basement here, and I don't know. It's weird. Like I just said, some things never change. It's weird to it's almost like stepping in a time machine. 2005, 2006, training in this goddamn basement.
I think it's funny because even at one point we thought that it was going to be over. Like there was going to be no more wrestling at Turner's Hall.
Yeah.
Here we are years later, and now it's been kind of... It's been saved, and now we have their shows that run monthly here.
Yeah, Premier Championship Wrestling, and they're trying to do a good thing, get a solid fan base going. It's just it's always very humbling, no matter how far I go as a wrestler, to still be able to come back to this building and still have those same feelings and create some special emotions for the people in the crowd.
Especially too, I love Dombrowski. I'll always give a huge shout out to Joe, but the fact that
we can't ignore that there's a...
I don't know how much it's going to pick up. It's probably going to be very faint on the microphone, but Ron Mathis is upstairs cutting a promo just outside of the door. Mm-hmm. Oh,
very loud.
Very, very... He's a very loud individual.
A lot of arguing.
But anyway, I was going back to Joe Dombrowski, it was one of his shows that I first went to, PWO. Yeah. It was in Streetsboro.
Yep.
It was I think the 4th anniversary show. Mm-hmm. And I don't get to come all the time.
Sure.
And I've explained to him, like, a lot of times he runs the same day as OCW. OCW's a lot closer to me, and I like to help them out. I really enjoy, like, really great folks, but I can't always come to Cleveland.
Right.
But Turner's Hall is this is my first time being, like, behind the curtain, basically.
Yeah.
Getting part of the hallways that I was never privy to.
And it's awesome for you. It's because, like, I don't know, I feel like there's so many stories in this basement, like a lot that I know and some that have just been passed down. Like, I mean, like the number of guys, like Turner's Hall is a rundown piece of shit building. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of one of the worst parts on the west side of Cleveland. But like, as far as like the caliber of wrestling talent that has sat right where we're sitting right now, I mean, you're talking the likes of, like, obviously Gargano and M-Dog and Prohibition. Yeah. Then you got the likes of, I remember one of my first times in this locker room, Bryan Danielson being on a show and riding a bicycle that he found in the corner of the basement, riding through the locker room, and I remember him saying, "This is the happiest I've ever been." And he's riding this piece of shit bicycle through the locker room, and Claudio Castagnoli, who is obviously Cesaro, and Tracy Smothers, and the first time I ever tried on a pair of wrestling gear was in this basement. Right through those doors back there in the locker room. And when I walked in, the first thing I saw was Hacksaw Jim Duggan's penis.
Jesus.
And that's something you never forget, It's a lot of history in this locker room.
Cleveland, Ohio, you can see Hacksaw Jim Duggan's penis in the locker room, and in a show you can see Jake the Snakes.
Yeah. So. Yeah, just, all over the place.
But I remember seeing, like, a lot of videos where... I should say, was this kind of like almost storage for a lot? Like, maybe, I don't know, here, every time I'd see like pictures or videos or promos, it almost seemed like the whole thing of there was a coffin.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you'd call it storage as much as you just call it a mess. I mean, like, so like in the room behind us where the ring is, JT used to store a bunch of VHS tapes, like wrestling VHS tapes. So like if we wanted to watch footage, like he had like, a good mixture of stuff, like WWF stuff, but he was always a big fan of like Southern wrestling and like, so like Memphis and USWA and WCW and old NWA stuff. So like if we ever wanted to like study tapes, like he had like a little collection of like home videos that he just recorded off TV or pay-per-view. And like the coffin was down here at one point. I can't remember if it was an AIW coffin or I don't think Cleveland All Pro had a coffin. The steel cage that JT owned that inevitably came the AIW cage, which got painted pink. Yeah, I remember. We used to keep that in the building behind the stage upstairs. The ring, the training ring over here used to stay set up like it is right now. But then JT had a show ring that he kept on the staircase that we were going to record this podcast on. We ended up coming to the basement here, but we were going to go upstairs. That's where the ring used to set. Like parts of the ring were up on the staircase, and other parts of the ring were up on the side here where you walk in, like the little hallway. Also, JT had a ramp that sat on those steps, and it was heavy as hell. You know what I mean? Like it was like a multiple man thing to carry that ramp to the stage for shows. So not so much storage as it was always just a mess. Like there used to be like crappy weight equipment that like we never used because it was just garbage over in the corner here, and just it was never really the cleanliest place, but in a lot of ways, I don't know, for some of us guys, it was like a home away from home. And even though this place is a shithole sometimes, like, I don't know. I can't imagine where I would be in my life without being in this shithole. Yeah. It's created a lot of great stuff for me.
I'm happy this place got saved.
Yeah.
Because I did go back and I was watching parts of that Hell on Earth, the what was supposed to be like the last wrestling happening in Turner's Hall. Yeah. And the thing that I got from a lot of the promos like that, and towards I remember hearing about the end of the life of Turner's Hall. What we thought was the end of the life, it was like cold because you had like people who owned it, and like the heat would be turned on and off at different times. Sure. And like there was times we come in here in the middle of summer and it's just hot as shit. Yeah. And there's times you come in here in the middle of winter. Even the one that I really remember was a girls' night out, and like Mia Yim, I think, was like in the middle of the room with a coat on. She's like, "No, I'm not taking it off." Because I remember it was April, and you thought like, "Okay, winter's going to be over," but no, here comes a snowstorm.
That's Cleveland, right? Yeah, that's the line. Cleveland weather.
But there's so many times it was just really cold or really hot. Yeah. And going back, like watching that, I was like, man, if that would have been the it for Turners Hall, fine, fuck it, because it was poorly handled. But now the fact that someone has bought the building and is using it, it doesn't seem, at least from my point of view, doesn't seem to be like people are like, oh my God, Turners Hall is just worthless. I mean, it's a little cold in here, but I think we turned the clock back about 5 years, and if there's a wrestling show ran that day, the heat was probably turned on early afternoon.
Yeah.
So at least this is definitely better than that.
Yeah, I think Danny's really trying to salvage the place. Danny was obviously the guy behind the scenes of Premier Championship Wrestling. He's really trying to clean up the building, and I've known Danny for a long time. Back when I first started wrestling, and I had to work a terrible retail job to pay the bills while I was traveling, trying to gain experience. Danny would stop in at my job, and that's how I first met Danny. And he was always very cordial and polite to me, and just cool, and seemed very knowledgeable of wrestling. And sometimes I would give him free tickets just because he was such a cool guy and everything. So it's nice to see that his passion, just as a fan, carried over to something where not only did he want to salvage his building, but he wanted to do it for the sake of pro wrestling. And he's like, he's still learning the ropes as far as promoting, but there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of good guys that normally don't hit the area here in Cleveland that are getting noticed both through PCW and welterweight wrestling. So I don't think the potential's been met yet, but I'm hoping it gets there.
I think that's the one thing about independent wrestling. There's just one company isn't going to book everybody you like. And sometimes you have to go out. Like, even me, for example, like tonight we seen Jackson Argos. I've been a fan of Jackson Argos for, about a year and a half. And it's me going outside of like my norm and like going to some other promotions and going, like, I think he was one of those guys the first time I seen him, like, ooh, I really like this guy. And honestly, after the show, I walked up to him like, has somebody ever told you kind of look like Johnny Gargano?
He gets that all the time.
And he's like, yeah, I've heard that before. I'm like, maybe because we're here in Ohio.
Yeah.
I think it's the hair color and like
the beard.
The beard. He does it almost exactly like, but I don't think it's like, oh, I'm trying to copy Johnny. They just have that same style.
It's just how his beard grows in, man. I always used to make fun of how Johnny's beard grew and run back. But I mean, he's making it work for him.
This reminds me of something I've had the conversation recently with somebody who was friends with Johnny back in the AIM days. So we're talking like a long time. Like, he was kind of a fan. He would talk to Johnny. Yeah. Get this. He messaged him one day and he was just like, hey, this is right around the time that he went from long pants to the short tights. What he's iconic for now. Yeah. Or it's not iconic, but I mean, that's what if you see him in anything else, you're like, why the fuck's he wearing that?
Yeah, it would be weird if you didn't know Johnny from when he first started.
He was like, hey, I just want to let you know, you look better in long pants.
Well, see, I feel it's the opposite for most guys. Like, I feel like, and I think that was the mindset, like, because Johnny started off in long tights and I started off in the biker shorts. Like, I think, like, I wasn't completely comfortable being in the trunks, but I really liked, I think, Carlito around that time. So he had biker shorts. So I said, I'll meet somewhere in the middle. But I feel like if you get in decent shape and you get into the shorter trunks, I feel like it makes you look bigger. Maybe that's just my mindset. It looks like you can show off the legs a little bit, I just feel like it gives the illusion that you're bigger than you actually are. So I think that was the mindset when Johnny switched to trunks, and then I ended up doing the same thing. I think right around the same time, because we're buddies, so we just copy each other.
It was his reasoning. He was just like, well, it's because he has chicken legs. What? At least at that time, I don't know. I wasn't a fan at the time, and him telling me like the story later.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, like, well, you were obviously wrong.
Yeah, well,
and even if he did have chicken legs, he guess what? He worked on it.
Oh yeah, and his physique has drastically improved since he was long tights Johnny Gargano. I mean, it's funny to even if you see pictures of Johnny when he was a kid, just like he's real chubby, and like just to see, I don't know, not just as a wrestler, but like as a human, to see how far he progressed from like just that dedication of like going from like this chubby, insecure, shy kid to like, arguably the most in shape guy and most successful dude by far in NXT. It's pretty inspiring.
And it's probably not going to stop with him.
No,
because I think what I heard, what was it? I heard you tell the story, or it was like when he went away, like you started to like get ripped more, and then when he comes home, all of a sudden like he's just like
he's more ripped,
and it's just like, what the fuck?
It's just like it's this constant competition like between us, like an unspoken competition. Like, Johnny's always driven me to work harder and be better. Like I don't know. Like again, that goes back to like I met Johnny. I met him at an AIW show originally at Peabody's back in the day, but like I really got to know Johnny in this building. And if it wasn't for in this basement of Turner's Hall, like being around Johnny all the time and just getting to know one another, like I don't know where my life would be, man. Like he's driven me like when it comes to weightlifting. when it comes to wrestling, like understanding psychology. And, more so than just beyond that, I feel like there's very few people in wrestling that you can call it like your legitimate friends. And he's not just my friend. He's really like a brother to me, like just we bicker like a married couple. And I don't know, like he's always there for me. And there's not a more genuine human than Johnny Gargano. So any success that he has, he definitely deserves it.
I'll never forget when I walked into Target both times and I seen 2 Johnny Gargano figures just sitting there.
Yeah.
And like the part of me just like, oh my, like I can't believe it. Then I was like, all right, I have to buy these.
Right.
I bought both. Both times I bought 2 each. And one of them, like the more recent one I sold just because it was like, I went on eBay before that and seen like people are selling like regular figures for like $30-$40. And I'm like, I want a fan of the area who watched him for at least some amount of time to get a fair price on it.
Sure.
So like, I think I sold it for $25. I paid like 20 after tax. It was like 21. So it's like, I make a profit, quote unquote, but I just did it to round it off. So
right.
That's something I like with him. Something I want to get in, like not to change topics. I could talk about Johnny Gargano all day, but it's everybody already knows that. So yeah, it's been a while since, we've got to speak.
Yeah.
Since you've been on the podcast. Mm-hmm. So you were on another podcast. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it.
I don't think so. I don't know. He did a thing or two. It's Stunning Steve Austin.
Stunning Ringmaster or something?
Yeah, something like that. So I don't know. Kid never really went on to do much as a wrestler.
No.
Steve Austin show. Okay. I've been on that.
People might have to Google that.
Yeah. Look it up. He's an up and coming, aspiring
podcaster
individual in the podcast world.
Yeah.
I did Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast. Did 3 episodes with him. 2 different sessions. Spent some time at his place in LA, and I don't know, for a guy who grew up a huge Steve Austin fan, I think like a lot of wrestling fans are. I don't know. I always say like Hogan was my number 1 as a kid, but if there was like a number 1 as an angsty young teenager who wanted like to defy authority, like my number 1 was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it was nice to get to sit with him and talk and share my story. And, he impromptu asked me for the 2nd episode, like, you want to stick around for another episode? Let's talk about pro wrestling, talk about our favorite matches. And I was like, what am I going to say? No, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No, Stone Cold. I have better things to do in my day.
So like I don't know, to be able to sit with him and like in my head, like when I was going to meet him, nervous obviously, but he made me feel like I always knew him. And then I thought to myself, if there is at least one moment where he agrees with something I say as a wrestler, like as a colleague, in my head, I'm like, man, that's going to be a win. And we agreed on so much, and had such good chemistry. And I got like such good feedback, not only on the 1st episode, but particularly the 2nd episode. And Austin said he got the same type of feedback. And I felt like for the first time in my life, my pointless wrestling knowledge, as far as like knowing detailed history of the WWF and Stone Cold Steve Austin, it came in handy. Because like I could set him up for his own stories, and I don't know, it just flowed really nice. And that first time there, we sat there like 3 or 4 hours after and just like bullshitted. And he told me stories, you'll never hear on a podcast. And
those are fun.
It was surreal, man. It was really surreal because there would be these conscious moments where I'd be talking to him just like you, like a dude. But as I'm looking at him, like I have to tell myself this isn't just a dude.
Yeah, or like in the back of your head, you're like, oh my god, I'm having a regular conversation with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, it was cool, man. And then afterwards, it went so well. It was like a good first date where I wanted to be like, I wanted to text him like as soon as I left, like, oh my God, LOL, had so much fun. Can't wait to see you again, winky face. But I didn't. But so a few hours later,
you did the 4-day rule.
Well, I was going to, but as I was going to sleep that night, it was around 9 p.m. LA time, and I had a flight to, I think, Buffalo the next day. As I was going to sleep, my phone vibrated. I looked. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin texting me, and he said, hey man, I had a great time talking to you. Wish you the best. If you ever need anything, give me a yell. And I just kind of smiled because it was like, I don't know, like it's just a cool life moment. Because like, I don't know, like I think I've done pretty well as a wrestler. But
you got a great story.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you have like all these things that you've had in your past, which I've been told about the death. I'm not to me to gloss over, but like, let us know. But you have all that, and then you would have thought like, okay, that's it. I'm just going to be this kind of wrestler. Then everything happened with Punk, and your popularity spikes.
Yeah,
and then you always, at least from my point of view, you always seem to maintain something. Like you had everything with Zach. Yeah. You've done motivational stuff. You've taken storylines and just the simplest things and made them the most entertaining thing in a company.
Well, thank you.
And you would think, okay, then that's it. Okay, your Spike was doing everything with CM Punk, and when everybody was focused on him, hell, that's how I first heard about you.
Sure.
And then now Austin.
Yeah.
Like that's.
I've gotten lucky. I don't know if luck's the word. Like I'm fortunate. Like
hashtag blessed.
Sometimes things happen based on like I really believe that a lot of an individual's success comes down to the people you associate with, and I'm very fortunate that I've chosen to surround myself with a good group of people outside of and inside of wrestling. And since the last time we talked, last year and a half. Personally, I've gone through like a lot of stuff. Specifically, I was in a long-term relationship that kind of ended suddenly.
I think it ended right around that point. We had a conversation like off mic of like things that were going on in our lives, and like, I do remember you were talking about like how that. It
was rough. It was very rough because just the idea that one day, someone you think is your best friend, who you are in love with, can sit you down and go, I love you, but I don't know if I'm in love with you. Like it's, especially when you don't see it coming, it sucks. Yeah. And it was very harder than I could ever imagine to get over, to the point where, I don't know, I've been through some traumatizing shit, like, with my parents and my mom doing drugs and smoking crack and dying of a drug overdose, and wrestling injuries, and just the struggles of being a pro wrestler, and like looking for that next moment to move up in your career, and like, I don't know, hoping that people keep noticing that you're working your ass off for everything that you get. But I feel like going through that breakup, which, was a 5-year relationship, was probably one of the most traumatizing things I've ever been through. And so based on, the people I surround myself, I was feeling very, very low about myself earlier in this year. And I just reached out to a friend, and I was talking to her, and I guess I'll just say it was Candice LeRae. And I was just talking to her about my situation, how I was feeling, and she said, maybe you need some new bookings. Maybe you need something new, like perk you up a little bit. And she said, why don't you talk to Joey Ryan about bar wrestling? I know Joey. I'm friends with Joey, but I don't want to bug people, so I'm just like, I don't want to bug him. And so then she reached to Joey, and like within a minute, she's like, oh, I got you booked in LA for bar wrestling. So it's like, oh, cool. That helps. And, Candice has told me like how much she believes in me and my story. So like, I don't know. I don't know why I specifically chose her to reach out to, but like I did, and it helped. And so I get booked for bar wrestling, and then I'm good friends with Andy Williams from Every Time I Die. Okay, yeah. So literally next week I saw him in Buffalo, and he was telling me how he did the Steve Austin show, and he was like, man, like if you're ever in LA, like he's the coolest dude, like I bet you I can help you get you on the show. And I was like, I'm literally going to be in LA in a couple months. So he's like, oh, let me see what I could do. And then like basically through that's how I got hooked up with Austin. So, and so I think to myself too, I may never have forged this relationship with Austin had I not gone through one of the worst experiences of my life, breaking up with my girlfriend. And if it wasn't for the people that I've chosen to associate myself, like none of this happens, like I don't know if like that everything happens for a reason bullshit applies, but I do feel like if you surround yourself with the right people, like things turn out okay. And it's just sometimes it's a waiting game. Tom Petty says the waiting is the hardest part, and I really believe that applies. Because waiting sucks, but it's through my friendships that helped me get to Steve, and it's completely surreal that like we talk on the phone and he leaves me stupid voicemails and I leave him stupid voicemails, and like every time he leaves me a voicemail I just kind of chuckle, because if you would have told 13-year-old Greg that one day, this dude that you watch on TV that like is giving you this mindset to like, and I got to tell Steve this off air, like the mindset of like, F authority, and like, if someone tells me that I can't do something, I'm going to do it anyways. Like, like that wasn't just a Stone Cold character. Like, that was Steve Austin, the individual, like, saying that. And, like, I connected with that. Like, I wanted to have that mindset where people talk down to me because I have this disability. Like, fuck you. I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, like, that motivated and drove me. So, like, to be able to just, I don't know, have some sort of friendship with this dude and for him to give me life advice. And I don't know, man. It's been a wild year and a half. And, you know, the wrestling bookings are staying consistent. And, yeah, I don't know. And this isn't exactly where I expected my 2018 to end up. But, you know, I'm okay with it. Yeah. I'm completely okay with it.
Like, I think, because we're like 6 months apart in age, but we definitely had that time when we were teenagers where something was going on, a fight or whatever, and you just hear dana dana,
yeah,
and like you're walking towards something and you got that swagger, and yeah, you got not even, I think, just be on his podcast, but like, and get invited into his home, and that's just
surreal.
That's crazy, man.
Surreal. And I just went back in October, weekend of my birthday, which was more ridiculous. And I did, you know, a third episode with him, and he allowed me to bring a documentary crew because there was a couple dudes that wanted to do a documentary. Danny and Keith, they do Wrestle Days, which actually, I don't know when this podcast is going to drop, but that documentary, which features Steve Austin, will be up on YouTube for free on the Wrestle Days account. And it should be something pretty interesting. It basically details a day in my life where I go, you know, just hang out with Stone Cold Steve Austin and do championship wrestling from Hollywood. And I go visit some landmarks in Hollywood and LA. And they did a really good job from what I've seen. I don't know if it's the final product, but when it hits Thanksgiving, it's going to be real good. I think it's going to tug on some heartstrings. This
will be out definitely after Thanksgiving.
Cool. People should check that out.
Speaking of movies or, you know, documentaries, kind of a movie, the main thing that we had this set up for is let's talk about PowerBomb. Yeah. Because I think it's funny, when we did the original interview, when the microphones went off, I was like, oh my God, I forgot to talk about PowerBomb.
Yep.
And you were like, hey, well, let's just do it next time. And I was like, okay, like, we'll figure out when that was going to be. And in my head, I was like, whenever that movie comes out, we'll work on it. That's why there's every so once in a while I'll bug Zach, BJ, or somebody and be like, hey, when's it coming out? Just because I want to be able to plan this. But we got the world premiere. I don't know. I don't think it'll be out for physical copies just yet. But we're talking about the world premiere. I wanted to have up all the information, but I didn't pull it up before the show, and my reception down here is shitty.
December 6th, Capitol Theater. I believe 7 p.m. might be the showing. Yes. Could be wrong, but you can always check the Capitol Theater website. They should have all the information, and they have Facebooks and Instagrams, and that's a Thursday night, December 6th, and I'm really excited about it. It should be a good time.
How did you get involved in this? Because I love when PowerBomb first happened, or like the filming, because I did do the extra work that weekend, and I had never heard of Sickening Pictures, BJ, Zach, any of them, and now like I see them everywhere. I mean, granted, I've connected on them with social media, and like they're involved with, you know, good people, and I'm like, okay, like these are really cool people. And like, where did it happen for you?
So BJ followed me on Twitter for a little bit, and I followed her back, and I don't know, like I noticed she had a verified account, so I don't know, I was like, oh, I'll follow her back. She seems legit, and I didn't realize she went to shows or whatever. But we just started talking, and eventually the idea of PowerBomb came up, and we met at a Denny's to talk about it. And I love Denny's. Anybody who wants to invite me to Denny's, you know, I'll always meet up with you and eat some food. But so she invited me to Denny's, and I don't know, like we connected. I love the idea of the film, and just as people, I feel like we had a connection. And when I met Zach and all those guys, I connected with all of them because I think we all have the same interest in wrestling. And BJ and Zach love terrible movies, and I love terrible B movies. So like we connect on a lot of those levels, and horror films. So we always have stuff to chat about. So once I just realized they were cool dudes, I was like, you know, this is something I want to be a part of. And then once I realized that they were getting M-Dog on board, and Alex Daniels and all my buddies, I was like, yeah, like, you know, I love doing things that don't feel like work, and it's just a bonus that you get paid for it. But like, to be able to have a little role in the film and do some stunt coordination too, like, it's fun, and it's nice to have on my resume, and it's cool to do it with my friends.
like, how many other people were involved, names wise? Because there's people that I didn't, like you had mentioned, Britt Baker, I know was a part of it.
Yeah, Britt Baker's in it. There is a big secret cameo that you can. Yeah, I cannot reveal, but if you go to the premiere...
Is it The Rock?
It's not The Rock, okay. But I will say that he is currently a member of the NXT roster. But he has a little minor appearance in the film where I think people will pop for when they see it. But you'll never know unless you go to the premiere on December 6th at Capitol Theater.
It's Shayna Baszler.
If it was, I couldn't say.
That's true. But no, like like I said, I did do the extra work, and to me, that was almost a dream come true, at least on my point of view. I was actually wanting to be an actor at one point. I actually have comedy tragedy tattooed on me. It's the only tattoo I have.
Yeah.
And just for one moment, just to be on that set, and even though it's just a regular scene, I did get to, witness a take happen over and over and over. And because I'd always watch movies, I'm like, why do they not, like when the editing, like, why didn't they do the same thing every time? I'm like, oh, because it happened so many times. Like, you kind of go, what did I do? Like, the thing that I don't know if it'll actually be caught on film as good is M-Dog's grandma. I was right by her.
Man, I love that woman.
And there was times that like she was supposed to do something and didn't, and she's like, "Oh, I forgot." Like, oh my God, that woman was fantastic on set. I mean, she's great at shows,
yeah.
But having it to where, okay, we're sitting here, we got to do this stuff over and over. Like, she was just fantastic.
She's one of the funniest and best people I've ever met in my life, and I've been honored to be yelled at her at shows and to be smacked by her at shows. That one AEW show where she attacked me. That was tremendous for me. I don't know, were you there for that one? She gave me some chops.
I'm pretty
from over the barricade.
I'm pretty sure. I was just thinking about this. I've only missed a handful of AEW shows, and they were in 2014.
Yeah.
I don't think I've missed any. There are shows that I missed parts of, but I've never missed like a whole show since.
Fun fact.
So I think I was there for that.
So not to sidetrack, because we'll get back on the subject of PowerBomb, but like after she did that thing where she chopped me and it got over so well, I went to Thorne, promoter for AIW, and I said, yo, I think at Absolution, it should be me and Alex Daniels versus M-Dog and his grandma. And,
oh my God.
And he was like, I don't know, man. And I was like, dude, that is money. And then M-Dog walked up to me. He's like, hey, man, I don't know if you would be down with this, but I went to Thorne and I pitched me and my grandma as a tag team against you and Alex. And I was like, dude, I pitched the same thing. Oh, and for whatever reason, like M-Dog got hurt, but he was going to be good by Absolution. For whatever reason, obviously it didn't happen. Yeah. But I fucking wish that match would have happened, because it would have been, I would have bumped around so much.
Oh, yeah.
For like, I got no problem bumping around for a grandma. I bumped around for Dennis Stamp.
That's what I was thinking.
It was one of the best experiences of my life. Someone was asking me about recently, like, who's your favorite WWE guy or name that you ever worked with? And I said, for sentimental reasons, Dennis Stamp, because, Dennis gets a lot of flack as far as, he's just that guy from beyond the mat who jumps on a trampoline and it's kind of a joke, and, obviously that's how I fell in love with him, because of the unintentional hilarity. But when I got to meet him and just to be able to call a match with him and to see how much it meant to him to go over in a match, but also to pin me, because it was a tag match. He didn't think that he would be getting the pinfall, and he's like, oh my God, I shouldn't be allowed to get the pinfall. I'm an old man. And he's like, oh, please let me get my please pop your shoulder up like right after 3 so I don't completely beat you. And I was like, dude, I don't care.
Yeah.
And it made him happy to feel like a winner, because I felt like he spent his whole career feeling just like forgotten and kind of like a loser. And I got to talk to him 2 or 3 times after, like on the phone. He gave me his number, and sometimes on trips home I would talk to him, and just every time he would just thank me over and over and tell me how much that meant to him. So like, I always think about that, because like it's just one of those life things where it's like, I don't know, what we do is very silly, and like legitimately I got beat by a 69-year-old man via clothesline.
Yeah.
And it's
who wasn't, quote, ready to wrestle. Like, right. He had to borrow a singlet.
And but I don't know, it's like things like that, experiences in wrestling, like those moments where like you connect with someone that, like, I don't know, out in the real world, what would I ever connect with Dennis Stamp on? Like a 69-year-old man, and however old I was at the time, 28, 29, like what are we going to talk about? But like, we're wrestlers, and somehow that like creates this bond between us, like, trusting each other with our bodies. And, he's a very fragile old man who does not wrestle anymore. He legitimately had not had a match since 1991. I thought for sure that someone would have capitalized on booking him after Beyond the Mat, but he told me legitimately he had not wrestled since 1991. So I had his first match since 1991, and it, turned up, unfortunately, being his last match because, he passed away a couple years after. But I have no problem bumping around for the elderly. Yeah, that's the point of all this.
I was going to throw out one thing when we talk about Dennis Stamp. I quote him constantly. Sure. Everybody has their own things they quote. Someone recently in a group chat oh hey when's everybody coming over? And I'm like no, because I'm not booked.
I'm not booked.
And he was like, what do you mean? I don't book people to come over. I'm like, it's a Dennis Stamp. This is a wrestling fan. I'm like, this is a Dennis Stamp reference. Or anytime or someone will post it's maybe about a concert or something. I just go, no, I'm not booked.
Yeah.
I love that. But let's pull back here. Besides, because M Dog's grandma is the most over non-wrestler in AIW history.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Well, besides Hackle. We're not going to dedicate any time.
No.
I just want to get that in.
We've had plenty of memories of Hackle here, but we're going to get past that. Let's go back to PowerBomb, man. And what else about this movie can you tell me? Because there's a bit of a mystery or something. I don't have it all down.
Well, the story behind PowerBomb is M Dog Matt Cross is the main character, and the story is he's got a wife and kid, and all the time that he's spending on the road, he misses a lot of time with his family. So in order to spend some more time with his family, he's contemplating leaving wrestling forever. And that was not a pun intended. Wrestling forever. Wrestling is forever. He's contemplating leaving the business for good, and a dedicated fan gets wind of this, and he ends up trying to stop him from leaving the business in a very unique and psychotic way. PowerBomb is, I guess, to describe it, would be a thriller / horror film.
Before you go any farther, it's weird that I was just thinking in my head, how would you describe PowerBomb? And as I was thinking it, you said it.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, there's definitely elements of horror. I would say it was more of a thriller, though. Okay. And there's definitely some comedy smattered in throughout the film. In general, I just think it's going to be an overall fun experience. I mean, just if you're a fan of wrestling or horror or action, I think PowerBomb is going to be a movie that has a little bit of everything for someone.
And I think with PowerBomb, it's a lot of the people who are going to be interested in it or everything is independent wrestling fans.
Sure.
And you're always told support independent wrestling. Well, these are independent filmmakers, especially if you like the Cleveland scene. They are Cleveland independent filmmakers. So I feel why not support these guys? Absolutely. This is all the reason. I mean, there's a lot of other really good independent stuff going out there of real wrestlers and movies and all that. This for Cleveland is just awesome. And I've been ever since we did that taping, I've been okay, when's it coming out? I really want to see this. Not even the fact that I was in, even if I didn't make it, I was I still want to see all these wrestlers that I know, they made a movie and I want to know who did what and all this kind of stuff. And also meeting, Zach and BJ and all them, okay, now I want to know more because people that I'm friends with are also involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I think the important thing is to support independent endeavors. I mean, I think that's why independent wrestling is in the state that it's in. As far as I think the world is a much smaller place. I think the internet and social media really has connected the world with things like independent wrestling more and independent films on another level. And for those that are fans of WWE and maybe not necessarily independent wrestling, you have to remember, us independent wrestlers had to start somewhere. So I think it's very important for independent endeavors to get your attention, to get your dollars. And it's the same with films. I feel 10 or 20 years ago, independent films, they were very underground, hard to find, have to find bootleg copies and blah, blah, blah. But now it's it's going to be having a showing in a theater. You know what I mean? It's again, smaller world, bigger reach. And I don't know, if you don't support these smaller endeavors, things never get bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think PowerBomb is worth the support, and Sickening Pictures and BJ and Zach, the time they put into directing and editing the film, and everyone behind the scenes, the camera people and everything. Like there's a lot of heart and soul behind the scenes, and I think no one would be disappointed in the film. And it's only an hour and a half, so I mean, like, it's not like
that's decent. Yeah,
it's not like some over dramatic 2.5 hour film. You get a lot of those in this day and age. You know, everyone wants to make some epic. And I think it's a fun little 90 minutes that everybody will enjoy.
I think that's pretty much. I mean, I don't know what to like say about the movie because I haven't seen it, but I do hope people go out and, I mean, whenever they announce some sort of release, like actual physical release, because there has to be people who are listening to this who aren't from Ohio and aren't going to be able to make it. But if you can get this copy, if you're an independent wrestling fan, like I said, like so many great people are involved. And I mean, if you go to your local show, this is no different.
Sure. So and I think everyone should just look for Sickening Pictures on social media and just stay up to date, because I'm sure, you know, I don't know the details for sure, but I'm sure there'll be a physical release. And if nothing else, I got to believe that it'll end up on some sort of streaming service at some point. So just stay tuned with all the social media stuff.
So you want to rattle off the memorized stuff that you have for, just so people know, the world premiere of PowerBomb, Capitol Theater.
December 6th, Capitol Theater. It's located, I believe, on West 65th here in Cleveland, Ohio. They play a lot of cool stuff. Actually, tonight, I had no one to go with. I'm not going to go. They play old movies sometimes, so they were going to play Batman tonight at 11:59, the 1989 film. And I wanted to go watch it, but no one's cool enough to go watch it with me, so I guess I'm just going to go home. But we were actually talking about going. My girlfriend, who's right next to us, big Tim Burton fan. Yeah.
Has never seen the Tim Burton Batmans. Actually, I introduced her to Batman with the Christopher Nolan series.
Are you kidding me right now?
I am not kidding you right now.
Just get out of here. Go.
And I'm like, if you're a big Tim Burton fan, you would like. I can keep telling like you would love the original. We just haven't ever got time to sit down and watch it. But
jeez, that's like the best era of Tim Burton, because I feel like he hasn't made anything good in a long time. No offense.
the last stuff of his that I really liked was Big Fish.
I didn't see that one.
That's a really good movie. I haven't watched it in a while.
Beetlejuice and Nightmare Before Christmas is the biggest ones for me.
Okay.
Grew up on that.
Okay, as long as you like Beetlejuice and Nightmare Before Christmas, like, I'll accept that. But you have to go see Batman and Batman Returns.
Okay.
For sure.
But yeah, but that's, we were going to go, but then like, I don't know, going home at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I got early Thanksgiving tomorrow, and I'm like, I'm good. All right, let's start to wrap this show up a little. And since you haven't been here, we have the Fave 5 questions, so we're going to go into them right now.
Let's do it.
Hey, this is Booker T, 5-time champ, and this is the Fave 5 questions. Now, can you dig it?
Let's start with, you've been in Chicago a lot. You were just in Chicago yesterday. Is Chicago deep dish pizza?
I like Chicago deep dish pizza, but I like it in a different way than I like regular pizza. So I think if I had to choose, I would choose a regular pizza.
Well, no. I'm saying, because there's people out there that don't think like that Chicago deep dish, like that's not pizza.
Oh.
Like they think like maybe the New York style, like that's a traditional pizza. Yeah. They don't categorize it as pizza. I've heard people say it's not a pizza, it's a pie. And I'm like, pizza is a goddamn pie.
Yeah, it's pizza. I don't know for you to say it's not pizza is ridiculous. But like, if I had to choose, like, I mean, I think, because in my head I'm like, I feel like more of a man if I can just consume a whole pizza. There's no way I would ever consume a whole Chicago pizza, because it's ridiculous. Like, it would like 2 pieces tops. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick a regular Cleveland pizza all day.
Since we just talked about Batman, and this fits in great with it, especially the original Tim Burton one, best physical portrayal of the Joker.
Well, I mean, Heath Ledger is, he probably did the best, but it sucks because I feel like every shitbag wrestler every like bottom of the barrel dude loves that version of Joker. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Like your typical white trash looking hillbilly. He's like, I love the Punisher and I love the Joker. Watch So Serious. And so it makes it uncool to like that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's so cool that people that are so uncool, like, who I don't even know if they understand like the depths of like that Joker character for them to think it's so cool without even understanding how cool it is, just because it's like a cool thing to like. I don't know if I'm even making sense right now. It makes it inherently uncool for me to think like that's the coolest. So for me, I got to go back to like Jack's version of Joker in you know, Batman 1989, or you know, even Batman animated series.
Okay, that's why I everybody always goes to Mark Hamill. That's why it's physical portrayal.
Yeah,
because in my own opinion, you have to go through a little bit more to do a physical portrayal.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill has done great.
Yeah,
but he didn't spend long times on a set like all the other Jokers. So that's why I'm like, I separate them, because if you're going to get that case, then the animated Batman is one of the best Batman ever. Yeah, because it's iconic voice, but he's never actually been full dressed up every day shooting all that stuff for Batman. So I have to separate just for that.
Sure.
It is funny that you mentioned the Punisher. Didn't Johnny just kind of release a Punisher type logo today?
I did. Johnny gets a pass though, because it's Johnny. So I mean,
and why do you got to bury Rey Mysterio like that?
Oh, sorry.
The Joker?
Hey man, his best outfit was the Wolverine one that he just did it all in. That was the best.
He's got a lot. I think the one that comes to my mind right now is the Flash.
That was a good one. Mm-hmm. I feel like he outdone himself with the Wolverine one though.
The worst one was Avatar.
That was pretty bad.
Like I've seen that recently. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people forgot about that.
Let's go. Question number 3. Here's a great thing. I don't have to ask you this question. This doesn't count, but we do have on here Sheets or Wawa. But we know where you stand.
You know the answer.
It's Sheets all day. Addams Family or the Munsters?
Addams Family, particularly the 2 films from the 90s. Never really a Munsters guy, and also my dad liked the Munsters, so anything he likes is usually uncool. So I can't really like the Munsters. I mean, I don't hate them, but like I grew up on the Addams Family. If you actually like dig into like the story of both of them, like when they ran on TV, they were on almost exactly the same time. They debuted and had their finale or whatever. They got canceled like right around the same time. Huh. So like they mirrored each other. That's why it's a question, because some people go like, oh, I like the Munsters because Herman's great, or I like the Addams Family because of the movies, or the cartoon, or the video games, or everybody has their own reason. That's why it's because everybody's gonna have this weird answer for it. And also, though, Addams Family Values, I feel like it's the only film that John Cusack's sister looked attractive. Like, she's not the ugliest woman I've ever seen, but like I feel like in that movie, Joan Cusack, she's very attractive, but doesn't really look very attractive in any other film I've ever seen her in. Yeah. Question number 4, ketchup on hot dogs. Of course. Okay. I swear that's a Ohio thing. What is it? Dude, go to Chicago and ask them if about ketchup on a hot dog. Is it weird? They hate it. Strange. Next time you go there, find someone from Chicago and just mention about putting ketchup on hot dogs. Okay. They will want to crucify you. I'll keep that in mind. I think that's question number 4. Question number 5. It is the Wilkman question of the Kick Out of 2 podcast. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? I'm so torn anytime someone asks that. It depends on who I want to mess with at that time. I mean, it's based during Christmas, so I'd have to say that it is sort of a Christmas movie. I guess the theme isn't you don't have to watch it on Christmas. It's not one of those movies that you have to watch on Christmas, but I think in general, it is a film based around Christmas. So I think it could go either way, really. It really depends on how you feel, but because it's so cool, because it's so cool, it's such an iconic film, I'm going to say yes. I personally say no, but that's just me. Okay. This goes with that, though. What's your favorite Christmas movie? It's got to be the Home Alone films. No, I mean, Home Alone, it's either Home Alone or Jingle All the Way. I've watched Jingle All the Way literally 200 times, and it's so terrible. I don't know. I love it. Jingle All the Way is... Jingle All the Way is the underdog Christmas movie. Maybe it's people so. Around our age, where we grew up with it. That has become I have to watch it every year. For sure. I remember watching it in school because it was always that day before, or that Friday before you went on vacation. You just watch a couple movies. Yeah. I remember watching that one. I still quote it. Yep. Whether it be Ta-Ta Turtle Man, put down the cookie. Dude, the techno remix.
Put That Cookie Down is
Put the
my
cookie down.
favorite. Phil Hartman, that performance,
Rest in peace.
was so amazing.
He's great.
And like, I agree with you. Like, Home Alone is great too. That's, I think those are like up there with me. But Jingle All the Way is that it wasn't supposed to be a hit. Oh, Sinbad too. Sinbad.
Yeah, Sinbad, grossly underrated.
Oh my God. But so many people, when I've asked that question, they go, "What's your favorite?" Oh, Jingle All the Way.
But totally unrelated. Also, Sinbad and Phil Hartman and House Guest. Also an underrated film. Have you ever seen that?
I haven't seen House Guest. When I hear House Guest, I think of House Arrest.
Oh, yeah. No, see House Guest. Go out of your way to see House Guest. Underrated.
Okay. Let me see. And the final question for you, which I didn't really think of one, but I'll go with this. If you had to pick, what was a better moment for you? Was it going to Austin's house, recording the podcast, or was it meeting Hulk Hogan?
Going to Austin's, spending time with Austin.
Really?
Meeting Hogan, and it was like a really great 5 minutes, better than I could expected, but like...
Did he unblock you?
We're not going to talk about that. But I don't know, like, just Steve was like the coolest dude, and I can't say enough good things about him, and like just the life advice that he gave me, and nothing. I don't know if anything could top just hanging out with Stone Cold and shooting the breeze. Like, we're just two dudes hanging out, best friends, BFFs, and I get to mess with them all the time and like make fun of them. I don't even know what my life is anymore.
What do you? I mean, it's obviously not part of the question, but like, what did you have more merch of, Hogan or Austin?
Hogan, for sure.
Was that okay?
Hogan? I feel like I have a lot of Austin posters, but I have like more random Hogan stuff. Though if there's one Austin item I would like to get that's very obscure, it would be the Austin 316 condom, just because it's
what?
That's a real thing. They came out with WWF condoms in like 98, 99.
Oh my God.
Just Google.
The merch at that time was very weird, because I do want to say they did have Lita thongs. Yeah. And I don't think they've done underwear in years.
I mean, they were marketing condoms, for Christ's sake.
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah. So what's more ridiculous than that?
I think Zack Ryder has it.
I don't know if they came out with the Val Venus dildo, but I think that would be the most ridiculous one, but I don't think they did.
Why wouldn't it be a Val Venus condom?
There might be. I don't know. Definitely an Austin 316 condom, though.
Oh my God.
And it's got like his bio on the back of the condom. It's weird.
Oh my God, I gotta Google this shit when I get a chance. Yep. All right, any final thoughts or last minute plugs before we go?
I don't know. How do you end the podcast hotter than Austin 316 condom?
What?
What? Sexual intercourse? What? Safe sex? What? Protection? What? Just cut it.
How about what about your social media plugs?
Yeah, that's important, I guess. Twitter at Gregory Iron, Instagram at Gregory_Iron, and Facebook at facebook.com/The Handicapped Hero. And if you can't remember any of that, I got my website, gregory-iron.com, and you can always book me for pro wrestling shows and speaking engagements alone or with Zach Gowen.
Or book you for a movie, just like PowerBomb.
Or for a movie. Yeah, I am an actor and stunt coordinator on the side.
All right, man. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see that no one has left. But now you're asking yourself, Dr. Dan, are you going to tell us what the DCR system is? And I will tell you now. The 3 simple principles that change everyone's lives: dedication, confidence, and respect. D, C, and R. If one is dedicated to themselves, confident in oneself, and respectful of oneself, there is nothing that they cannot accomplish. Those 3 principles are the building blocks of anything you wish to achieve. If you just remember D, C, and R, there is nothing that you cannot accomplish. But sometimes you feel that isn't enough. Sometimes you need to be a little more focused on the task at hand. But don't worry. To go along with dedication, confidence, and respect, you can always remember rule number 1.
So let's wrap all this up. If you can, head on over to the Capitol Theater this Thursday, December 6th, for the world premiere of PowerBomb. Also, please rate, review, and subscribe to wherever you're listening to this fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Get a hold of us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose a desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. And we have the merch store over at whatamaneuver.net. Please check out our friends on the Trending Topics Network, such as All Beer Inside, Eurovision Showcase, Old School at the Movies, and Chill. And check out our other podcasting friends, such as Pod Van Dam, Center Stage, Super Fantastic Podcast, The Road Home from Wrestling, The Dave Dynasty Show, Kick Out at 2, The IndieCast, So Bros Network, and the Bill Gold Belt Podcast. And check out our other non-podcasting friends, such as Thrift Store Jobber, Rebel Life Media, The Savage Dash, Set Tab Photo, Ringside Shots Photography, Sickening Pictures, Wrestle Void, NEO Sports Insiders, the Midwest Territory, and the official graphic designer of Wrestling Cheers, Moy Boy Designs. That will do it for us here on Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you like the Punisher and the Joker. Later.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Would you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came.
You're the way you can see, rules are all the same.